She fired me on her first day as CEO minutes later. I owned the company. I stood in the glass-walled conference room, the hum of the office fading into a tense silence. The air was thick with the scent of fresh coffee and polished ambition. Eleanor Vance, the founder's daughter, perched at the head of the table like a queen claiming her throne. Her first day as CEO, and she wasted no time. Hand over all company property. Security will escort you out, she barked, her voice sharp as a blade, eyes gleaming with inherited entitlement. I was Victoria Hale, the COO who'd built Innovatech from a garage startup into a tech empire alongside her father Marcus Vance. For 15 years I poured my soul into this place. Nights coding prototypes, days pitching to investors, weekends mentoring the team. Marcus had trusted me implicitly, naming me his right hand. But when he passed suddenly 6 months ago, the board, swayed by family ties, handed the reins to Eleanor, fresh from her Ivy League MBA, with zero experience in our cutthroat industry. Her words hit like a gut punch. Fired? Me? The room spun slightly, a mix of rage and disbelief churning in my chest. Colleagues averted their eyes, the betrayal stinging deeper than her command. But I kept my composure, sliding the heavy ring of campus keys across the mahogany table. They clinked softly, stopping inches from her manicured fingers. Beside her, the company lawyer, Harold Klein, a wiry man in his 50s with a perpetual squint from poring over contracts, leaned forward. His face drained of color as he stared at the keys. "Ma'am, about the board meeting. You fired her and then she gave you these," he whispered urgently, his voice cracking. Eleanor's brow furrowed. "What are you talking about? She's out. End of story." Harold's hands trembled as he adjusted his glasses. "Those aren't just keys, Ms. Vance. They're the master set. The ones that access everything, the servers, the vaults, the offsite backups. Your father. He embedded a clause in the founding charter. If the COO is terminated without cause and surrenders the keys voluntarily, it triggers a reversion protocol." I watched the realization dawn on her face, a slow bloom of horror. My heart raced, but outwardly I was ice. This was the hook I'd planted years ago, with Marcus's blessing. We'd foreseen family drama. His will was ironclad, but the company docs? Those were my masterpiece. What protocol? Eleanor snapped, snatching the keys as if they burned. Harold cleared his throat. It reverts majority control to the original co-founders, or their designates. Miss Hale was named as the primary. By firing her and accepting the keys, you've essentially handed her the company. The room erupted in murmurs. Security hovered at the door, unsure. Eleanor's cheeks flushed crimson, her poise cracking. "That's absurd. I own this. Daddy left it to me." But Harold shook his head. "Not quite. The board meeting last week, we discussed it vaguely, but you insisted on moving forward. This is binding. Irrevocable without a unanimous vote, which, well, with Miss Hale now holding leverage." I allowed a small smile. Revenge wasn't about shouting or sabotage. It was surgical, professional. Flashback to those late nights with Marcus. "Vicky," he'd said, his voice gravelly from chemo, "protect what we built. Eleanor means well, but she's green. If she oversteps, make sure there's a safety net." I drafted the clause myself, buried in legalese, approved quietly. It wasn't malice then, just prudence. But now? Now it was justice. The emotions surged. Grief for Marcus, fury at Eleanor's arrogance, a twisted satisfaction as her empire crumbled in minutes. She turned to me, eyes wild. "You planned this? You conniving?" "Careful," I interjected calmly. "I'm still in the room. And according to this, so is my stake." The board filed in, summoned by Harold's frantic texts. Whispers turned to arguments. Eleanor pounded the table, tears of frustration welling. "This is my legacy. You can't take it." I leaned back, crossing my arms. "I didn't take it. You gave it away." Inside, my pulse thundered, years of overlooked contributions, her snide comments about old guard thinking. This was catharsis. As the meeting devolved, lawyers scrambling over documents, I felt a pang of empathy. She was young, thrust into shoes too big. But empathy didn't erase the sting of her betrayal. Marcus had warned her. "Listen to Vicky. She's the heart of this place." By evening the dust settled. The clause held. I regained control not as CEO, that would have been petty, but as majority shareholder with veto power. Eleanor was demoted to an advisory role, her ego bruised but intact. She stormed out, vowing lawsuits, but Harold knew better. It was airtight. Walking the campus that night, keys back in my pocket, the weight lifted. The stars above the innovation labs twinkled like code compiling successfully. Revenge? It tasted bittersweet, professional triumph laced with emotional release. Innovatech thrived under balanced leadership, and I found peace in proving loyalty outlasts blood. But deep down, a quiet thrill. She'd learn or she'd leave. Either way, the company was safe. And that was the real victory.